Today's episode is brought to you by White Glove Car Wash. Man, it feels like we just never get a break. We go from salt and brine on the roads right into pollen season, and our car never seems to be as clean as we needed it to be. That's where White Glove steps in. They are offering unlimited car wash packages for as low as $20 a month. You can take your car in daily and make sure that it is shiny, squeaky clean like you always want it to be, and not have to worry about cleaning it yourself. And with the satisfaction guarantee, you will never have to worry about it being just right. With locations in Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, you are never too far from the glove. Family owned and operated for over 40 years, go out and support small businesses this year and support your car by giving it the best car wash possible. Just ask your phone to take you to White Glove Car Wash and be taken to the nearest location to you, and let them give you the best car wash you have ever experienced.
Welcome to Talking 215, your go-to podcast for everything you need to know about Philly sports. Whether you bleed green, trust the process, fly with the Flyers, or fight with the Fightins, this is the place where we break down Broad Street. Jake, Sean, and Joey deep dive into the heart of Philly sports culture, breaking down games, roster moves, and sharing the stories that make the 215 truly legendary. So grab a cheesesteak, settle in, and let's get to Talking 215. Now here's your host, Jake Biasato.
Ladies and gentlemen, Howie Roseman has done it again. Talking 2-5 back at you with a new episode, doing a little post-draft talk, maybe even a little Phil's talk, but we got the whole gang. We got the coach, we got the doc, we got Sean. Chris, Philly Dogs, I'm sure he's got plenty to talk about, is going to be hopping on momentarily. He's having some technical difficulties. Now, gentlemen, while we've said many, many, many times that you really can't grade a draft until 2 to 3 years at a minimum, how are we feeling? How'd our boy Howard do?
Howie does what Howie does, right? Like this is what we've come to expect now, right? Out of Howie. I think there's a graphic that shows the first 3 rounds of like the last 3 drafts, right? Where it's just like starter. Everyone that contributed to the Super Bowl team. I guess I would describe it best as we all have friends or grew up with people that you knew if you were out at a bar or a party or social situation, you're like, hey, man, just don't give too many drinks to John. He gets a little psycho and he does all that stuff. Or like, if you know things are about to get rowdy, you're like, make sure Peter's with us because I know Peter can handle his own. Howie drafted 3 guys that you would want in a back alley with you in the first 3 rounds. Like if anything ever went down. I mean, you have your physical freak, your 9.89 RAS score in Jihaad Campbell. You have your absolute headhunter, the little guy in the group that everybody just doubts or looks over that will absolutely kill everyone in Mukuba. And then you have your giant wrecking ball in Ty Robinson in the 3rd. So, I mean, I think he just took 3 tough SOBs, and not that the team needed toughness anymore because they really didn't, but there's obviously a theme that he was going with, and it's we're going to be tougher than you every step of the way.
And real quick, I just wanted to, because Joey brought it up, you're talking about, it's just what we expect of him now. How long did we have Howie Roseman where he didn't heat up until the 5th round? I mean, he was atrocious in days 1 and 2 for years. And then we've talked about it on the pod. Once he decided to stop trying to be the smartest guy in the room and pick guys from, the Pac-12 and all these crazy conferences, and was just like, you know what? We're going Alabama, Georgia, Texas, like we're going these big name programs. He's been knocking it out of the park. And so like, it's just crazy how he went from like, man, how he picks these studs at day 3. He just finds these guys, but why the hell can't he evaluate anybody early to where it's just bang, bang, bang. Every round, every pick, you're like, you know what? I don't even care if I know nothing about this guy because Howie Roseman picked him. So there's bound to be something there. Anyway, Sean, Doc, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the whole draft process. I just thought it was funny that Coach, you were like, it's what we've come to expect with him. And literally 4 years ago, we were like, there was literally #Fire Howie, Twitter handles not that long ago.
Yeah, it was a lot of, okay, let him do the money. Somebody else do all the drafting, right? Who was it that we had a couple of years that ended up going to
Joe Douglas?
The Jets?
Douglas. Everybody was like, he's such a great evaluator.
I will say what what we saw over draft weekend was round one, completely called it. Find one guy who's a stud that is slipping for one reason or another, right? Jihaad Campbell's got that torn labrum he's recovering from, right? He somehow slips to 31, right? We make the deal, we make it happen, okay? And then the rest of them just seemed like we were refilling or filling whatever spots that we had lost in free agency. So as much as I like the Mukuba, as much as I like the Robinson pickup, it did feel like we were drafting solely for need, not necessarily best player available, right? They might end up being studs. They might be exactly what we needed, but I felt like, okay, the Mukuba, okay, that's your CJGJ, right? Your Ty Robinson, you're picking up another Milton Williams. You're trying to replace that directly, right? Even if you want to go Mac McWilliams, and after losing Slay, it was like just one after the other. We were directly addressing,
Mac McWilliams from
the
CF.
University
Central Florida. Somebody here knows a little bit more about him than I do, but it did feel like we were we had who we lost in free agency at the forefront of our minds throughout the draft process. I wanted to fill those needs directly through the draft instead of dipping back into free agency.
Now, I do want to touch real quick before your Doc's thoughts, because he's obviously, we saved the best for last. When you talked about how they were drafting directly for need, we actually have somebody that is a family member that directly coaches and was at the draft party with Andrew Mukuba, and he was telling Coach like they were about him, like that was their guy. And so it's like, yeah, it still might have been filled a need, and they might have been looking like, hey, we lost these guys in free agency, whether it be we traded them or they just, their contract ended and they moved on to another team. And that was the position group they honed in on. But it sounded like Andrew Mukuba was the guy that they had been like, this is who we want in that slot. Like you heard Malachi Starks, like that was a name that everybody was hoping for. It was a name that, if he falls to 30, 31, 32, they'd be in on him. But, from everything we've been hearing from Coach and his cousin, it sounds like they've been doing their due diligence for months on this guy and that they're really big on him. And so it's like I've said a number of times, if it's the guy that they really want and they've done their research and they're sold on him, I have zero problem with them going out and making whatever they have to do to get him. And this time they didn't have to do anything. He fell right to them. They made their pick and they got their guy. So it's exciting when at least the first two picks were exactly where they wanted, because the Cowboys so clearly did not want they wanted what was his name? The first quarterback gone. Why am I
the first wide receiver?
McMillan. They wanted Tet McMillan so bad that when he got taken before them, they absolutely just scrambled. They made the pick with 20 seconds left on the clock. I'm sure they were calling everybody saying, hey, do you want this pick? Yeah, it's a good pick. Come take this pick. And then they were like, shit. We got to make a pick here. What do we need? Guard? This guy. Like, you saw how excited that guy was to get selected there, because he had no expectation of going that early. He was, Doc, you said when we were about to record the injury update, you and your son were watching it, and you were like, your son was like, man, that guy's hype. And you're like, yeah, he just made $20 million more dollars than he should have made just because the Cowboys had a panic pick. And look, he could be great. I hope he's not until the Eagles get him in free agency in 5 years. But it was funny to see how we were just like, yep, we got our guys at least day one and day two. And then you see our division rivals just making a panic pick. But Doc, day one, day two, day three, we talked right after day one. So we hadn't really gotten a chance to talk day two or day three. What were your thoughts about the rest of the draft?
Oh, I thought they were both great picks. I mean, you can have both. You can fill a need and still get the best player available. And I think that's what happened in both those cases. So you're waiting. This guy they both fell in your lap. I think the defensive tackle, the kid from Nebraska, is an absolute stud. I think he's going to be a major change. He's going to be an addition to an already strong thing. The only thing that struck me about this draft is there were no skill position players drafted by the Eagles, including tight end, and that kind of made me scratch my head a little, especially in the later rounds. They did a lot of offensive linemen. They drafted another center, and that's great. But I'm like, I didn't see a lot of diversity in the later rounds. I would have liked to have seen them take a run on somebody, just to kind of act as some sort of competition.
Yeah, no, I was shocked. I actually tweeted about it, how I couldn't believe he didn't take a single wide receiver. He's always looking at those. Like we said, the RAS score is so big for him. He's looking for that guy with a 9.7 plus RAS that falls to, deep day 3 and goes like, yep, let's get this guy in here. He's running a 4.3, 6'3". Maybe we can make something of him. And for them not to was pretty surprising. And they entered the draft with 8 picks. After day 1, they only had 6 remaining. They end up making 10 total selections. And I felt like day 1, 2, and the first pick of day 3, they got their guys. They got some studs. And then the rest, they just went on. We have the best offensive line coach in the NFL. Let's get him mammoth monster human beings and see what he can do with them. We always, every 2 years or so, Howie Roseman says he loves to just draft a quarterback. Let's get a guy that's very similar to the Mormon missile that we have as our backup this year, and let's see if we can get him up, and maybe we can move on from Tanner McKee next year. Like Howie just has a script and he sticks to it. He got Athletic Freaks day 3, acquired another pick next year. So I think now we're up to 300 picks next year, if I'm correct. I think we were at 299, so we got to 300 draft picks next year. We're expecting 300 with the comp picks to yet be given. But I thought he did very well. Chris, for anybody watching on YouTube, you obviously saw he just hopped in. Philly Dogs in the house. We were talking, you can't grade a draft for 2-3 years, but we're going to do it anyway. How'd you feel like the draft went?
A little upset that we didn't get a Philly Dog in the first round, but we ended up getting one at some point. So I was happy to see that for the bias and for the
brand
content, for the brand, right? Absolutely. So no, I was thrilled with Jihaad. I mean, when we did our mock draft, I don't think it came down to what? Starks and your guy, Coach.
And Harmon, yeah. Jihaad was way gone. I think Campbell was way gone at that point.
Yeah, he went. I have to pull up who he went to, but he was way gone.
Yeah. So that was a big surprise, but like a very welcome surprise. I was just talking to my buddy today who's a Commanders fan. I was like, I just don't know how we keep falling into this scenario where like these top 15 prospects just keep falling in our laps. It's bewildering. It doesn't make any sense, but I'm not complaining by any stretch.
Now, Doc, we actually had a number of people reach out on Twitter this week asking, because they saw the injury update with the Jihaad Campbell, and that video really, really did well. A lot of people really enjoyed it. And we actually had a listener reach out and was like, hey, obviously the talent and the skill was there and it made a ton of sense to get him. But do you feel the fact that the patellar rupture of Nakobe Dean really played into this? And they loved your breakdown of the labrum tear and everything. And they just wanted, I know we've talked about it in the past, closer to the date of injury, but just wanted a new update to talk a little bit about Nakobe Dean and that patella rupture, and about if and when he's able to play this upcoming season. And you had kind of hinted at this could be something that might debilitate him for the rest of his career.
Yeah, it's a tough injury. I mean, we've seen it time and time again in the NFL. We've seen it with the Eagles. Nate Allen had it. Not that he was the same level as Nakobe Dean, but you see a lot of players. This is what gets them a lot of times, and it's a hard recovery because it's a tendon that's, its job is to pull on that leg. And for someone who's a linebacker running, pushing against resistance, it's hard. It's a lot harder. If you told me you can have a labrum tear today and a patellar tendon tear that's 6 months in the recovery, I'd take the labral tear because I think the recovery is more consistent. And like I mentioned when we spoke earlier, I know that he's from the University of Alabama, and I know they have great surgeons down there. So I know and not to say that Nakobe didn't, but I think that the recovery is a lot easier on players with a shoulder injury like a labral tear, because that's a cartilage injury. That's not a muscle injury. That's not a tendon injury. So it's a lot easier to get back where you need to be. And I have no worries. I heard that labral tear. He got it right after the combine. He had the surgery right before the combine. And I think that's enough time. You give him 4 months, he'll be good. Nakobe, you could look at 6 months and you argue, some people say it's a year recovery, a full year recovery. And you look at players in different sports. You look at NBA athletes, a patellar tendon tear means you're gone for a year. They don't even, and I think that it's going to be an issue. And I definitely think that factored into their decision. I mean, granted, this guy's awesome and it's great that they fell, but I think they were looking in that direction regardless of where. And I think that's why they were alluding to the fact that they were willing to trade up to get this guy. They just couldn't find a trade partner. But I think that's real. I don't think that's just blowing smoke up his, you know what? I think they really saw that this could potentially ruin a great team by not having the bodies in the linebacker position. Yeah. So I think that this is definitely a defensive move not in the sense of we need somebody in case Nakobe's not where we want him to be come start of the season.
So are we all in agreement with Doc there that when we had heard rumors that they tried to move up to 24 and then they also tried to move up at 26 and they obviously said afterwards, oh yeah, it was for Jihaad. Are we all, do we agree with Doc? Doc saying, yeah, I think like they really were trying to do that. Or do you think they'd say that no matter what? Or, what are we thinking? Was Jihaad always the guy that they're trying to get?
I think we will never know the answer to that question.
I think if you look at the rankings and the board, like Chris was mentioning with our mock draft, Jihaad Campbell went off the board in the top 12, 15 picks almost in every mock that you see, the one that we did. So with this draft being super top heavy and just, not having a lot of studs fall into 20, 22 and just, like you're not going to have a Quinyon Mitchell in this draft that slips or whatever. I think of a top 10 guy on our board falling to 22, 24. I think, yes, they were trying to do that. And to Sean's point about need versus BPA, I think when you're a Super Bowl champion team and you have a roster like Howie built, you have the luxury of kind of picking that, right? Like if you're a really bad team picking in the top 3, you got to pick. Like Cam Ward wasn't the top 5 best players in this draft, but the Titans need a quarterback, right? So they take the best quarterback. We know how that works all the time with bad teams. But when you've built a roster that can compete for a Super Bowl today, without the draft, without free agency, without any of that, it's good enough today. I think you have the luxury of being a little bit more of a gambler, being aggressive. And I think when people talk about position of need, drafting for need and drafting for BPA, best player available, I think you can draft best player available at a position of need. And it just so happens that those linked up. I mean, we double dipped with Coop last year. He was best player on the board, wasn't a position of need because we already took a corner. I mean, I just think when you have stuff like that, when you're a really good team, it just makes more sense than if you're a bad team.
Yeah. Also, I'm looking up real quick to see where all the top draft guys had him going, just because I didn't memorize their mock drafts and all. Shout out Daniel Jeremiah. His final mock had the Eagles selecting Jihaad Campbell. Shout out Daniel Jeremiah knocking that out of the park. Good for him. He also said in that for the explanation, he said it would make. Of course, they would get my top 12 ranked prospect in my rankings because they're the Philadelphia Eagles. So like he even said like this is a top 12 guy, but he's going to go to the Eagles because that's just what happens. But yeah, shout out Daniel Jeremiah. I'm looking at Mel Kiper's now. But anyway, Chris, go on.
Yeah, I don't think they were blowing smoke. I'm actually in agreement with the guys here. I mean, Sean, you're right. We're never going to know the true of it, right? But I don't think they were blowing smoke because even Lori said it. Like, we've been trying to trade up for you for hours now. So I think that spoke to me. I also think that their answer regarding Shedeur Sanders about, was it day 3 of like, well, we're not going to talk about other players. I think also painted the picture of like, this was clearly their guy. Other else, they probably would have chosen some vague answer regardless of the situation. So yeah, I agree with the guys here.
Yeah, Mel Kiper had him going 17th to the Bengals. Who is this? Todd McShay had him going 16th to the Cardinals. And I got one more of the top guys. Dan Brugler is another top guy when it comes to the mocks real quick. Let me pull his up. While I'm doing that, Doc, another player that they wanted to ask about was no new injuries, but just with how the draft shook out, with how free agency shook out, it's looking more and more likely that Dallas Goedert's going to be the starting tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles. Is there any concerns with just the fact that he hasn't played a complete year in his career, I believe, and that it's never even the same thing. It's always something different. I understand like the forearm fracture. What are you going to do? Like a broken bone. It's like, what are you going to do? But there's, been shoulder stuff. There's been ankle stuff. There's been knee stuff, so they just wanted to know like, hey doc, what are your thoughts? What's your confidence level in somebody with those kind of injuries that it's just never seems to get the good end of the stick heading into this contract year?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could say, there's fluke injuries and stuff like that, but I think, guys that play hard put themselves at risk, and he plays hard, and I think that makes him prone to these things. And the longer your career gets, the slower you get, the more prone to injury you get. So he's definitely an injury concern on my list. He's someone I worry about every time he goes out there because he puts himself out there and he's prone to this. And this kind of pattern follows people. There's people that fortunately you can hit and they just are made of rubber. I mean, I don't want to jinx anything by naming names, but there's a certain receiver that's a $180 who doesn't seem to get hurt too much. And then there's others that just, you look at them sideways and they go down. And that concerns me about it. I just feel like because they didn't make it, at least through the draft, didn't make a contingency plan for him. I think that, you're riding with him, and hopefully it's a good call. I mean, I love him as a player. I just worry about him. I worry about him. Absolutely.
And when he's healthy, we've talked for years. Like he makes a huge impact on this offense. How many times do you see that Dallas Goedert one hand reach out on 3rd and 9, 3rd and 15, and he just reels in this one hand catch, makes a spin, makes a guy miss, and takes it to the sticks for a massive first down. It seems like whenever he's out there, and they actually know that he's out there, because half the time they never even look his way for some reason, that he just makes these big, massive plays. And he's obviously a tremendous blocker. And you know what you're missing when you have Grant Calcaterra out there, great pass catcher. Also, only had like 15 catches. It seemed like every single one came on 3rd and 4th and long. The guy makes these clutch plays, but it's just an absolute liability when it comes to blocking. Just a nightmare out there.
Just to top on what you said, I think that's an important component is they have so many weapons. They don't have to rely on them as heavy as Carson Wentz did to Zach Ertz, throwing to him 100 times. Mm-hmm. So they can kind of be a little bit more judicious in it. And I think that's the reason why they're like, well, if we only use them a couple times, the risk of injury is less. And I agree with that philosophy too.
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Now, do we feel as though me talking last episode that the addition of Terrace Marshall plays in a little bit about not getting any wide receivers? We ride in the Marshall train. We are Marshall.
I was riding the Marshall train until I saw what number they assigned him, and then I was like, all right, never mind. I can't
body.
They gave that man 46. 4-6.
That's a brutal break.
I mean, that's like hey, we don't got to break up, but like I want to see other people. Like I don't see how that 46. You couldn't give him like a 84. Like
hey, shout out Greg Ward.
In the 80s?
I mean, 84 is retired. Greg Ward.
That's true. Is Greg Ward still on the team?
Greg Ward is not.
I just think like that's. Look, I like Terrace Marshall coming out, but damn, man, 46. That's rough.
Yeah, that's a tough look. You're a betting man. You start looking at the trends. Ain't many 46s out there catching balls on Sunday. I'll tell you that.
I don't even think like a fullbacks or like linebacker.
Did we bring Ben Van Sumeren back? Talking about fullbacks.
Yeah, he switched his number.
We gave him a different number. He might be 44 for all we know.
Oh, that's a
I just don't know of a number that has like less like swag to it. Like
no
like,
aura.
There's no
aura.
How do you?
No aura. Also, there's a Bills reporter. I saw him when they were, all the beat reporters were posting the undrafted free agents as they came out. This Bills reporter, hats off to him. I wanted to copy it so bad, but we don't do that. We don't steal content here at Talking 215. But I wanted so badly too. He like had every third player of undrafted free agents, because there are a bunch of names that you've never heard of. He put in one of the a little bit more normal Key and Peele East West Bowl names. And so like half the people were like, oh, I never heard of that guy. Like a bunch really got it. And I started like responding with like a bunch of different names. I was like, yeah, I really can't believe that. I can't even remember the guy's name now. Now I sound like a doofus out here recording a podcast. Can't even remember the names of some of them. But I was like, yeah, I can't believe this guy still hasn't been signed yet.
I just looked up the most famous number 46s in NFL history. Don Fleming was a safety for Cleveland Browns in the 60s. His jersey was retired after a tragic death in a construction accident at the age of 25. Yeah, I know. Really bringing the podcast down. Herman Edwards, remembered for his role.
Hey, shout out Herman Edwards.
Yeah, Herm. John Dornbos, famous John Dornbos, long snapper. So those are the most famous ones.
Any receivers?
Not a long list here, gentlemen. Mark Washington, I don't know. He's a Cowboy. I don't know if he was a receiver. None of these names ring any bells besides John Dornbos, to be honest, and Herm. But that's what I got.
The Mark Washington? Holy cow. Yeah. Wow. I mean, look, I think he's a Cowboy, but that guy's a legend. The name I was thinking of was Isaiah T. Billings Clyde. I couldn't believe that Isaiah T. Billings Clyde had yet to be signed. That was one of my more favorite Key and Peele names. But no, I thought it was very funny. He just kind of slipped a bunch of them in there. Yeah. Also, I wanted to shout out the Phillies during the draft. I thought, it's every game's important, and we know that, but they did something really nice for the city of Philadelphia by just playing some of the worst dog shit baseball from the start of the first round until the very end of day 3. As soon as Mr. Irrelevant was picked, they had the most runs scored in a single inning. I'm not even kidding you. Look at when the draft ended. Look at when they got 6 runs. They said, we're going to play like fucking shit. As soon as fucking Goodell says, all right, and the Tennessee Titans are on the clock, and then we're going to play phenomenal as soon as Mr. Irrelevant gets picked. It was incredible how terrible of baseball they played up until the very last second of the draft. And they're like, oh, okay, like we wanted to give the Eagles their due. We didn't want to take away from them. All right, draft's over, 6-run inning. Like it was, shout out to them. Really just city of brotherly love.
It's like the Bane meme. Like, they expect to find one of us in the wreckage, brother. Like the Phillies are just the wreckage, and the Eagles need to prosper for for the Phillies to die. So that's what it is.
No, it was really funny though. I don't think they scored a run during the draft, but the second it ended, they had the most runs they've scored in a single inning this season.
They're so annoying, man. They're so annoying.
I literally hate this team. I do.
Right as you're talking, Jake, the Nationals score RBI double.
They're coming back. They're coming back. Now Strami's going to implode. I have never seen a team so expensive and so good on paper that I dislike watching so greatly as the 2025 Philadelphia Phillies.
And what do people always say about the Phillies? They're especially their offense. What do they say? They're boom or bust, would you say? They're, swing for the fences or nothing?
Have they even been boom or bust? I mean, other than that one game you're referring to.
They are in the bottom 5 of MLB home runs.
They're lowest in the NL. They have the least amount of home runs in the entire National League.
They boomed one game, and they have been a bust. The other, what are we, almost 30 games into the season? Like
Coach said, we have the lowest home runs of any team in the National League.
I don't even know what a home run sounds like at Citizens Bank Park. I have no idea what the process is. I think they forget what the process is. They look to the first base coach. This means go all the way around, buddy.
Yeah, I was there at the Castellanos Grand Slam game against the Dodgers. That was fun. But yeah, they just don't hit them. Schwarber got off to one of the hottest starts of his entire career and hasn't hit a home run. It seems like an eon. So
I hate them.
Yeah, they're just so hard to root for, and it's all the things that everybody was concerned about. The bullpen, you didn't do anything.
Boom is coming out of the colossal cold spell he was in at the beginning of the season. That's fine. Stott looks great whenever they decide to have him bat leadoff. Yeah. Who else is playing? The other 7 players on the team decided to say, "No, you guys got it. You guys got it." Starter.
I know we talked about it on a pod before the season started, but JT is hitting .042 against left-handed pitchers this year. .042. For the audience listening, JT's a right-handed hitter. Yes, that's correct. Against left-handed pitching, .042. That's almost you could just stand there and never swing a bat and have a higher on-base percentage.
I think he took Marshy's bat when he got injured. and he just inherited his ability to hit lefties.
Well, just think about that. What confidence do you guys have when you got like Bone,
We don't.
JT, Rojas, Marsh, 4 in a row in the lineup right there that are just nothing, and you have to pray that Bryce isn't in hack mode and that he's seeing pitches, because that leaves you with 2 guys that can make contact with the baseball after that point.
Doc, what needs to happen for the Philadelphia Phillies to make some changes, whether it be Kevin Long, Rob Thompson, or do you think, you just let them ride out the ship? You'll let the captain go down with the ship?
Yeah, I think this is do or die. So I think they're going to let him. They're going to give him the year, and then I think there's going to be major changes. I mean, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, and that's what they're doing. And eventually, someone's going to be on the chopping block. I think they're going to give him a little, because of recent history. They're going to give him a little bit of a leash, but ultimately, if he doesn't do anything, they're going to hang him.
But I mean, is our front office, are they casual fans? Because I swear they're just looking at the box score at the end of the year. Because it's like, yeah, look at the success, look at the numbers. If you watch the game, you see that this team isn't good enough. Like, that they're not coached correctly, that it's the same mistakes every single time. So it's like, I get it when people are like, oh, but look, he wins 61% of his games, since he's been the manager, and look at the stats. He ended their postseason drought. He's done this. Yeah, but like, have you watched the Philadelphia Phillies play baseball? Have you put on the TV and sat through 3.5 hours of this? Because if you had, you would realize that he is a bad manager. The hitting coach is an absolute moron. We have a blind, mute Helen Keller on third base coach and Dusty Wafton. This team does absolutely nothing fundamental. We just talked before we got on with Coach when we were waiting for everybody to join in the lobby. We had asked, he was like, hey, how many times can a pitcher throw over to first? Because the rules are changing every year, and it's so stupid that they're just meddling with the game that we love. And he was like, is it 2 or 3? And I was like, it's 3, but that third time you have to get them. And if you do not, it's an automatic base. And I hadn't turned the game on yet. I was recording some stuff for Buck Golf. Shout out Buck Golf. Best game this summer. Links in the bio. Definitely get some. I was recording some stuff for Buck Golf, and Trea Turner was on. Shout out Trea Turner, 3 for 3 tonight. One of the only players that's actually doing anything. He was on first. He got thrown over to twice. And they were unsuccessful both times. And so, yeah, you can throw a third time, but every pitcher really tries not to, because they know, especially with a guy as shifty as Trea, if they don't get him, he automatically gets the base. Trea didn't even attempt to steal after he had two disengagements. And Coach, you said they grounded to a double play?
No. Eventually, Schwarber hit a 2-run bomb, but that was a batter later. That was a batter later after the out. So it helped. But my point is, a runner
would have helped to know that before I made the Schwarber hasn't hit a bomb in eons comment. But
he just did in the first inning tonight, which I took no runs first inning on a bet, so that's fantastic. But no, I just don't get. It's the process. We said this team reminded us of like the 2023 Eagles, right, where they were 10-1, and we were on this podcast every week being like, this doesn't feel like 10-1. The coaching is real bad. The offensive coordinators, we have 2 defense coordinators or 1. I don't know what we have.
Coach, Eagles fly together. Chris will tell you. We were out there for our boys.
It was rough, man. It was rough. And that's what this Phillies team reminds me of, right? Like, yeah, they're 2 games over 500, and yeah, they have a lot of big names, but Kevin Long and, like you said, like even Dombroski, the GM, I have no confidence. What was it like watching the Eagles this year with Vic Fangio and with Kellen Moore compared to what we had before? Can you imagine like a third?
I was calling Doc Mesa every Sunday saying, Doc, the commercial says if it's erect for 4 more hours, I need to consult you. And that's how it was like watching the Philadelphia Eagles this year.
Yeah.
Just
trust, like, we only had Fangio for 1 year, and you blindly trust him with whoever he likes. Jeff Stoutland, right? If Jeff Stoutland wants a 7th round backup guard from Michigan, I'm like, I see you, Jeff. I see the vision. I believe it. Like, I believe you wholeheartedly. Same thing with Vic Fangio. Oh, Mukuba is a little bit undersized and only ran a 4 or 5. Vic, I trust you. But like, I don't trust anybody.
Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's just like a trust thing. They've earned their right to be able to do what they want. that Howie's gone through the ringer, and now he's earned his right to be one of the best first day 1, day 2, day 3 drafters in the NFL, while also being a cap wizard. Stoutland has earned his right, like completely revitalizing players' careers. You had Fred Johnson in tears talk about how he was going to retire from the NFL before Stoutland completely changed it. You had multiple players over their span just say that he's a massive influence on their game, both on and off the field. Vic Fangio, same thing. Guy's a hard coach, but people that actually want to win. Shout out Dolphins for just being a joke of an organization, but players that actually want to win have said like he is one of, if not the greatest defensive minds that they've ever been a part of. Where has Kevin Long done anything to where you're like, yeah, I'm going to trust that I'm going to ride with my boy K Long? You know, Rob Tomson, like I always said, is the most Canadian player in baseball. He just sits there with a thumb up his ass every game, looking for somebody to tell him what to do. Caleb Cotham, we all were so excited about it. He was a great, and like, yeah, our starting rotation's pitching great. Like, I think Caleb Cotham's doing the best out of anybody there. But it's like when that's the big thing to fall back on, that our starting rotation's doing well, when our bullpen's shit in the bed, when our hitters can't do anything, when we have, like we said, a stretch of 4 batters that if you get a walk out of one of them, you're throwing a parade down Broad Street. Like, you don't know where to go. Like we said it, like I love the Phillies, but damn it, I hate the Phillies, man.
I think you're stuck. I mean, as an organization, you're stuck because your organization is not smart enough to be frugal, and they're not rich enough to play with the big boys. So you're kind of in this middle tier, and you're going to be stuck there for a long time because you can't figure out what the Dodgers did. And, you know, the Yankees are the Yankees. You know, there's going to be organizations that are better run than you, and you're going to get stuck in that middle ground for a long time, unfortunately.
Doc, don't you dare get me started on John Middleton and his damn money. That greedy son of a bitch.
Just saying. He's not going to shell out the big bucks, you know.
There's no salary cap. There should be no excuse if you're almost trillionaire.
Have you ordered? Do you know the cost of an extra cup of Chickies and Pete's cheese at Citizens Bank Park? Just the 2-ounce cup of melted chemicals. It's like $4.99.
Well, there you go.
It's insane. So I don't want to hear about we're not rich enough to do it. He's got plenty of money. He's too damn greedy to do anything with it.
Okay, but how many cups of cheese do you have to sell to pay one Trea Turner? Right? Like, what is that? $4.99, $30 million a year. That's a whole lot of cups of cheese, guys.
Yeah, it's a lot of cheddar.
Like 4 cups of cheese a game.
That's a whole lot of cheddar.
It's a whole lot of cheddar. Sean, we did the math when we were going to the World Series and all that. If you just took the face value of every ticket, 47,000 tickets per game, and you know they had home field advantage, and just the money on tickets alone, we did the math they were making per game. It was, we guessed, we didn't know the exact face value. We figured like the average face value of a World Series ticket was probably like $350, something like that. When you take the very top and you add the Diamond Club and everything, 47,000 times 350. I mean, you're looking at in ticket sales alone, just millions of dollars. Obviously, the regular season isn't.
Maybe if we make it more than a couple home games in the playoffs, we might actually be able to pay for this roster. Right?
Sean, don't defend him. Don't. Have you tried to buy? I mean, you know, you drink one beer at tailgate. Have you tried to buy a beer at Citizens Bank Park? No, you've bought your ice cream helmets
ahead of time, so I don't have to pay money for the beer once I get into the ballpark. I'm not down. I don't pay for alcohol prices anywhere other than buying them at the liquor store in like a large quantity that I'll probably never buy, but because the price per unit is attractive enough for me, I'm cheap.
Hey, Dad, can we get popcorn at the movies? No, we're stopping
We have popcorn at home. Okay, we can put it under your mother's shirt. We'll tell everybody she's pregnant.
Wear your big jacket, son. Wear your big jacket with all the pockets.
And you're under 12. I'm 16, Dad. You're 12. We're
getting you that Kyle Schwarber CP Rankin jersey for kids 14 and under. Also brought my brother and his friend. They're in college. He brought his buddy. Completely fooled him. Said he was 13. He was 19. got the Kyle Schwarber jersey.
Oh, man.
Shout out Wes Ma. Babyface will take you a long way. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Delaware Orthopedic Specialists. Spring has officially sprung, and you know what that means. All the weekend warriors dusting off their gear and trying way too hard to relive the glory days, and you know what's going to happen. Hip, ankle, foot, leg, knee, shoulder, injuries. Where else should you go other than Delaware Orthopedic Specialists? I don't know. DOS has specialists trained in each and every part of the body, so you're getting a provider specifically assigned to that part of the body. Why would you trust anyone other than a specialist? The only fellowship-trained surgery center in the state of Delaware makes it a no-brainer. Head on over to delortho.com or give them a call at 302-655-9494. I'm telling you, my family's gone there. My friends have gone there. Check out their Google reviews. They are phenomenal. DOS. Don't trust anyone other than a specialist. But no, it's tough to watch. They're holding on to a 1-run lead in the 8th right now. It's the team now. We don't have OTAs for another month. We don't have rookie mini camp for another month. Well, I am excited, and Chris, I know you are as well. We're excited for the NHL lottery. The official odds came out today. Sharks lead all odds with 25.5%. We have the fourth best odds, Doc? Fourth best odds for the first overall pick. I'm going to be honest. I really don't know the prospects as well as I should this year. And I honestly felt like, and I told you guys when we did our mock, our 32 team first round mock this year, I was the least informed of any year since we've been doing this podcast. And honestly, it's because we won. I'm like, I don't care. Like we won. Like we said, I trust you. Go out there, do your thing. Like I'm still drunk on victory. But I'm also, and that's but in the same opposite, I'm not paying attention to the Flyers because I'm like, we can get first pick and it's not going to do anything. We don't have a goalie. We have one defender. We got an incredible rookie offensive player. We should have traded Konechny when he was, worth a ton. Nobody's going to buy Sean Couturier's contract. It's tough, but we got Danny B and Keith Jonesy behind the ship's steering wheel here. And they're going to right the ship.
Yeah, but then they went and they won 5 and 6.
Yeah. We fired Ports, and we were like, hey, let's lose out. Brian Shaw stinking wins 5 in a row and then loses in overtime the next game. You're like, damn it, man. Like we never could have had the second best, but we could have been locked into the third best odds.
We can't even tank right. It really is hilarious when you think
the Sixers did.
Yeah, I mean, the
Sixers
future's
did it
bright. Yeah, you got about 5 years of despair until this team's hopefully good again.
I think we did, Doc. Did we talk to you about that? Where once Paul George got hurt and Embiid got hurt, they were like, "Maxie, your finger definitely hurts."
Oh yeah.
He was like, "Nah, I think I'm already." He's like, "Your groin hurts too, and your wrist."
Just a little bit of gamesmanship, yeah, for sure. It's definitely, and to their credit, they got where they needed to be. They got in the room with the lottery.
Yeah.
And, they still, having done all that, the Sixers could still get the 7th pick and give it to OKC.
Yeah.
Which is probably what's going to happen. You can say you heard it here first. They're going to lose the pick to OKC.
Breaking news. Doc drops his first. Heard it here first.
Yep. And it's going to happen.
Also breaking news. The Phillies offense still sucks, and the Phillies bullpen still sucks.
Oh, God.
The Brown Bear out on the mound having his worst outing of his season thus far. Well, we don't know. It's 2-on, nobody out. Hasn't a lot of runs.
We know. Stop it. We know.
We don't know. Come on. He's going to
how long Tomson has. He has to be. Listen, there's some issues that I have with him. They've got to be looking at. Oh my God, I'm going to blank on the hitting coach's name right now. And they're going to say you need to make a decision.
Step on the bag.
No, he didn't step on the bag. For anybody, we'll see if we can get somebody to replay that play, but it was embarrassing.
Watching this podcast right now, you need to go fast forward to the 8th inning of the Phillies game because oh my God.
Anyway.
As the one member of Talking 215 who does not watch the games while recording,
we couldn't explain this to you if we tried. What just happened? There's no.
Yeah, we're not going to try.
I've got the app up. I have the app up. I don't.
Oh wait, I want to hear. I want to hear what the app says.
Television.
Tell me how the app describes that play.
The app just says, I see a fastball down and in the middle, and I see the bases are loaded. This is all it says.
The good thing is it's Josh Bell at the plate, who's never been successful against the Phillies. So
Yeah, he's never. Yeah, he never does anything again. Anyway,
I know what the app said too, because that was.
Anyway, Chris, Sean, Doc, I'm glad all four of us are on here. Doc, I was talking with them, and I was graciously offering your tickets away without consulting with you. So we got four of us. You got 4 tickets. I mean, I think that's a match made in heaven.
Listen, I can tell you right now, there's tickets for Thursday if you're interested.
As in,
yeah, see, but you're a busy man. You're saving lives.
Well,
it's becoming an adult. It's good on you.
We'll see. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
But either way, we got to get to a game with you, Doc.
Absolutely.
We got to get to a game and a tailgate. Getting Doc out there. Maybe no sleeves. He'll be honorary coach. Just sleeves off, backwards hat. Just ripping a shout out John Middleton, ripping a Black and Mild, and playing a little bucket golf before the game.
Absolutely.
He's the doctor of the people. Everybody. He just gets it.
So I have one Eagles question. So to the panel, what happens with Jordan Davis?
That's a good point.
I really
got till May 1st, right?
No, he has tonight. They have 24 hours till he has to. They either give him the 5th-year option.
How much is the 5th-year option for him?
It's probably like $13 million, something along those lines.
I'll look it up.
Just going off of free agency, I just don't know how you replace that level of success for what feels like a bargain for at least this year. I don't see them signing him long term after the season, but I feel like at this point you have to pick up that 5th-year option for him.
Wow, I'll tell you, when Doc is on, which he always is, he is on $12.94 million.
That was close.
12.94. Yeah, I think 13 million. Every mathematician would say you're rounding that shit up.
Yeah, just a little.
See we all know what Milton Williams went for in the open market,
right?
Is that is that the cost of picking up somebody that's just marginally better, right? And I'm not even here to have that argument whether or not Milton Williams was marginally better. They're very different players, but like to pick up that guy that's as effective. No, we just won a Super Bowl with him. We just had fantastic rush defense all season throughout whenever he was on the field. I mean, these are big, huge behemoth people. They're not going to be disruptive for 60 different snaps a game. Like, this is what you're going to get out of a person this large that plays this explosively. You have to pay the guy at least one more year.
And I think they really figured out how to use him.
$7 million a year. Okay, you don't pay that. That's fine.
And I think they figured out how to use him. Like, he had his most effective season this year, in a limited snap count. We would like to see maybe 5 to 10 more snaps a game. Like the teens, that's probably a little low, for our liking. If they were able to do that, but because we had Milton Williams, we had Mario Jomo playing at a high level. We have these guys, like, it's a little bit more on his shoulders this upcoming year, just with a little bit less depth. So we're gonna need to see a little bit more from him. Maybe sit in the high teens, low 20s. But they utilized him very well this season, and you saw how effective he was. Even late in games, he was making these big plays, where before he was huffing and puffing, looking like Kyle Schwarber playing left field.
So do you think they're trying to negotiate a longer-term contract, and that's why they're waiting till the last minute to go for his 5th-year option?
Possibly.
See, that's...
Possibly, because you can add those dummy years, right, and then spread out the cap a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think Jordan Davis's presence allowed guys like Milton Williams, allows guys like Jalen Carter to find favorable matchups. I just think a lot of what he brings can't be judged on a box score stat sheet, sometimes. And I really think it's there. So I think what they might do is pick up the 5th-year option, Doc, and then that allows them a full year to kind of negotiate. Do we want to extend? But at the end of the day, to touch on my point from earlier, I think you walk into Vic's office and you say, are we picking it up or no? Yes or no? And whatever he says, you just full trust.
Yeah, I was going to agree with what you said, Coach, too, is it might not show up on the stat sheet, but he's a run clogger. I think the other thing, and I'm not just saying this because of the brand, I really do think that the culture of having all these dogs together on the line is such a difference maker. Like, you even hear on the phone calls, these new rookies calling in and be like, I may not be from Georgia, but I'm going to be a dog for you. Like, I think that culture has kind of cultivated itself in a really positive way, having these guys really have like a brotherhood. Like I do think that plays a difference as well.
Who's the country music star that's a big Eagles fan?
I'm not a country guy. I have no idea.
I know there is one. I can't wait for him to come out with a new song. Hopefully he's not from Georgia, because that line is going to be in it. I may not be from Georgia, but I'm going to be a dog for you.
That is a good line.
I am not a country music singer, as you so clearly can tell, but that's a bar. That's a country bar. Is he about to get out of this inning?
Did you guys see the lineman we took late? I don't know if there was a Michigan guy or the Texas kid or the Boston College kid that said on the phone he was talking, or he was in an interview and he said, yeah, it's really cool. I'm going to be entering the transfer portal and I'm going to be transferring to Stoutland University this year. He's like, I'm really pumped about it. So I was like, man, that's people know if I get drafted by the Eagles, I'm in the best position as an O lineman. So I think that's pretty cool.
Because they know, like, they're not going to just be a guy in the background. Like, Stout puts his eyes on every single guy at camp. He's putting, just making sure everybody gets their reps, everybody gets their shot, because he knows that if he sees something, they're gonna respect his opinion enough to be like, hey man, at least get this guy to slide onto the practice squad, because I'm telling you, there's something there. I mean, for him to be able to see enough out of Jordan Mailata for them to turn him into an all-pro left tackle, like, he has earned so much to where if he gets one of these guys, and they drafted some Jordan Mailata-esque bodies in 6'8", 300, holy Jose Alvarado, K, and another strikeout, because I'm not going to say 3 of them in a row. He got out of bases loaded, nobody out, struck out the next 3 batters to get out of the inning. Jose Alvarado, the Brown Bear, as we named him, is him.
Load the bases and then strike out 3 in a row.
Yeah, no big deal.
What a tease.
No, but Jake, to your point, right? I think that is I was just thinking about it today. Like, where you get drafted is such a huge deal. Like, it could really make or break. Like, Cam Moore can end up fizzling out in a couple of years. We've seen it with the Titans. We've seen it with the Browns. So, like, getting that mentorship of a Jeff Stoutland who can turn your career around or elevate you very early on in your career as well. Like, and I know he doesn't impact it, a Zach Bond, but like, just look at some of the guys that have come, Mekhi Becton, Mailata, you said too, right? So like, he can resurrect your career, or you could start it off and end up being an all-pro, like a Jordan Mailata. It's no,
I said insane. After, like, I was obviously just as wrong as Howie was when I had said, this was pre-podcast era, that I wanted Rager over Jefferson. Obviously I was an idiot before I started going live and everything, but I had even said, like, after Jefferson showed how incredible he was, do we think he would be that with Carson Wentz and this team with that coaching staff at that time? Like,
absolutely. That guy was a stud.
I think Jefferson's different.
No, never a doubt that guy was going to be a stud. And they were saying stupid things like, oh, he's a slot receiver. Howie was showing his ignorance with that pick. And I love Howie now, but that was a mistake. Everybody knew. I mean, did you see how fast the Vikings, of all people, picked up that phone? The Vikings, who were hemming and hawing about picks and lost a pick because they took too long, they picked that up in 0.0005 seconds. They were like, oh my God, I can't believe they did this. And now I'm glad that we're on the other end of that transaction. I'm glad that we're the ones that are pissing everybody else off. And being like,
And also, if we get Jay Jettas, does AJ Brown, Devonta?
All that changes. Yeah. But I say that guy was going to be a stud pretty much wherever he went.
I agree.
Fair enough.
Even the Giants.
He did it with what? Fucking Captain Kirk and Sam Darnold. Like,
I mean, he had garbage. Not garbage, but he didn't have elite quarterbacks throwing him the ball.
No. Shout out all that, but no. I mean, like you said, if we had drafted him, he still would have been good, but it changes the entire course of the Eagles. Changes everything.
Well,
Carson Wentz given a longer leash. You get coaching staffs given a longer leash. You don't get AJ Brown. You don't then draft Devontae Smith. You don't that
same draft. We took Jalen Hurts in the second round. Is Jalen Hurts looked at as a trade piece, or because Wentz looks a lot better with a guy like Justin Jefferson throwing to versus Jalen Reagor, and does he try to do too much and doesn't get hurt? Like, the butterfly effect is crazy there.
No, wild. All right. Anybody else got anything?
Zach Bryan.
Zach Bryan. Zach
Who
Bryan.
you're
Zach Bryan.
thinking
Let me see where his Zach Bryan's from, because if he's not from Georgia, we're gonna send him a DM. Zach Bryan from where? University of Central Foot. No, I'm kidding. Did you know Zach Bryan born in Japan?
Wow.
There you go.
Born in Japan, grew up in Oklahoma.
That's right. He is from Oklahoma.
Well, Zach Bryan, you need to make a song where I may not be from Georgia, but I'll be a dog for you.
Chris needs to be all over this branding. Like,
Oh my God.
Trey Turner, 4 RBI double.
that
in
was
the
the
bottom.
worst catch attempt I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was hilarious. That was hilarious. That's like you're playing out there before MLB The Show would allow you, if you get in the vicinity, it just locks onto the ball and you have to track it all the way. That was that. He's just runs 3 feet by the ball, jumps in the wrong direction, and the ball is 5 feet behind him. That was hilarious. But shout out Trey Turner, 4 for 4. Yeah. Anybody else got anything? Final thoughts, or you got any pre-final thoughts?
I just think Jihaad Campbell, it was the best linebacker in the draft by a wide margin. I think for years, Howie has gone bargain shopping at running back and at linebacker. And finally, you see him making those positions a priority now because of what I said earlier. The roster is so complete that I could splurge a little bit here where I didn't before. I could sign Zach Bond to a nice contract, and I could take the best linebacker in the draft. A position of weakness is now a position of strength. And it's just so cool to see him not be pigeonholed or stereotyped to a certain way. He is just, I will adapt as the league adapts, and we will make sure we're at the top always. I think it's so cool.
I mean, he's probably even just ahead of the curve, right? I mean, running backs have been maligned throughout the league, it feels like, for the last decade, 15 years. And he's like, no, actually, I can see that these linebackers keep getting smaller and smaller. So I'm going to get a guy with 37-inch quads to just run them all over, or, I don't know, hurdle over them backwards to hell all I care.
Well, Sean, being ahead of the curve, let me ask you, I know we all kind of didn't like the CJ trade, but did you guys just see what Kirby Joseph signed for? Detroit safety?
Oh, ridiculous money.
Like 4 years, $84 million.
Listen, Howie said there's going to be some stuff that you're going to see that's going to look a little strange to you because we got people that are getting paid that we're committed to over the next couple of years. So, and I don't think he's done. Like, I don't know if we see some pieces move, some high dollar pieces move that are going to free up some space to sign some of these guys. So, we touched a little bit on Goddard, and I don't see him being a long part of the team, but long-term player on the team, just because whenever he goes down, we don't really miss him. For how much talent that we are missing, we don't miss the production. We don't. It's almost like how we saw, like, okay, so we really don't need to be paying a tight end really anything because we don't need one. We don't use them. They're just not part of our offensive game plan. Yeah, so I wonder if that's the next cut. I mean, we talk about really anybody that's getting paid or is already paid. Like, there's not too many people that are safe, it feels like, on this team. And I'm very curious. Like, I have my thoughts, but they're not really based on anything other than vibes. So, but I'm curious to see like what the next person on the kind of the chopping block is going to be.
Yeah, I think his philosophy is going.
That was my pre-final thought.
Oh, okay. I'll allow it.
I thought we were coming back around for final thought.
I'll allow it.
Okay.
So I just think real quick, his philosophy went from a year too late to a year too early. I think he's learned his lesson, and I think he wants to, like you said, be ahead of that curve. Get them before they're a burden on the team. I think the last guy to get away with it is probably Brandon Graham.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, PG.
Everybody's pre out of the way. We ready to wrap this thing up? Yeah.
Pre-final thoughts, just talking 2-on-5. That's just, there's no pre-final thought.
Chris, final thought?
In Howie Roseman, we trust. He did it again, gentlemen. And he'll continue doing it. Trust it.
Coach, final thought?
For years, Eagles fans have been wondering if we're going to get Micah Parsons when his contract is up. We just drafted him. So no.
Boom.
Doc, final thought?
How am I supposed to follow that? I got nothing.
I was waiting for him to be like, just like this. Fuck the Cowboys. Sean, final thought?
Yeah, final thought. Shout out to Eli Ricks for shooting a shot at a 5'11" blonde that's twice his age. I've never related more to him in my life.
Final thought, go Birds.